I just started recording.
All right,
First.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Yeah.
Been.
Welcome all. Okay. Any announcement? None? I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda. Second,
Second.
the moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda is approved. Public forum, we have a visitor today. Sir, just tell us who you are and very brief description of why you're here.
All right, my name is Scott Renstrom. My son recently purchased a property adjacent to Clear Lake. And Clear Lake was clear mud flat. And so just kind of curious about what the Watershed does and how I might be of assistance in maybe establishing that as a lake again.
Very good. We're proactive in regarding having constituents visit us. We like that. We don't get separation anxiety or anything, but you know, we want everybody to read and learn about us and education is a big component of what we do. Aside from the more obvious things, which you will be hearing about this evening. Excellent. Thank you for attending, sir. Okay. Let's move on. Consent calendar. Do any of the managers have any comments or items they would like to pull from the consent calendar? Not hearing any. I want to just say the on item K for Alicia Loquai, I believe I pronounced that properly. Hopefully I did. That was a very detailed report. I liked it. So take a note of that, sir. So with that said, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar. Do I have a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Consent calendar is approved. Right. States and recording partner volunteers and citizens advisory relationship. John, that was with us electronically. Was it also this? Okay. Okay. Very good. Thank you, sir. Business and reports, administrator, engineer, permit 2025-52. Bill Earth. John, please, lead us into this.
Mr. President, Manager, it's included in your meeting packet as a review permit on the project. It's actually an after the fact permit request. The memo goes into background of the situation. Late afternoon of October 29th, the property owner, Dennis Jeffrey, contacted me about a project he's proposing, got involved some fill, he described as filling a low area. He described it as being more than 1 acre, and I told him that it would require a Valley Branch Watershed District permit. I told him why Valley Branch would require a permit and what we'd be looking at with a permit application. I also told him that he likely would need to get a permit from the city of Lake Elmo. Concurrent to that conversation, the city of Lake Elmo contacted Inspector Brower and told Inspector Brower that the property owner had come in and asked for a permit for grading work. The city said it was inadequate permit submittal, and they needed more information. Inspector Brower went out there and looked at it on November 3rd and saw that most of the work, from what he could tell from public roadways, was already done. The next day or so, Mr. Guthrie sent a sketch of the work, and then he asked for a site visit with me, and I visited with him and his son on November 14th. What I saw was a temporary haul road from 10th Street North going back to the far north end of his property. That haul road's maybe about 1,200 feet long, and he had already filled a low area in a swale type area of his property. And I estimated that to be like 1.2 acres, more than what triggers the need for a Valley Branch Watershed permit. Probably the more disturbing or surprising find was that he had completely buried a pipe. This pipe is the outlet pipe from the property that Kearns operates as a nursery. And that stormwater pond outlets through this pipe onto this property. And in the packet, there's a sketch that,
Right.
that shows all this.
But if I may ask, do you have any idea of the diameter and the depth of the pipe?
For the, I'm guessing 18 inches, I don't know, it was completely buried when I saw
Yeah,
it.
I believe it's an 8 or 10 inch diameter pipe, and it's probably about 2 to 3 feet down from the grade on the Gertens property.
Okay.
But yeah, now it's been.
Most resident, Engineer Phillips had seen the site prior to all this work because there's some additional background. We had been working at the board's direction with Gertens and with this landowner to apply for one of the 3M priority 2 grants that would reuse the water on the Gertens property for irrigation, but then also construct a controlled outlet of this pond with a pipe onto Mr. Geffrey's property, but in a different location. And all that had been worked, or both parties had agreed to that work. But Mr. Geffrey went ahead and did this prior to us knowing whether we'd obtained that grant.
Yes, sir.
I just have a question. The pipe, the outlet from Gertens, I assume that's on Gerten property where it outlets, or does that cross the property line and then outlet?
Mr. President, Secretary Brock, that's a great question. According to the property owner, Mr. Geffrey, it's on his property.
Oh, okay.
It's difficult to tell, but I based on air photo images with the property lines, it does appear that it's on his property. He and his son say that the pipe was constructed without their agreement. It was likely constructed with the previous operator of the land, the Linders.
Yeah.
Greenhouse.
Okay.
Is there an easement for the pipe over the?
No.
Okay.
So we don't, I'm assuming we don't have sufficient records to determine when that pipe was installed and by who.
As for the Imperial, Valley Branch Watershed District did not permit that pipe.
One other quick question, in the time sequence of things, and maybe we don't know, but once the landowner was aware of the need for the permits, how did the point of his awareness stack up with when the work was done? Was the work done after he was aware that the permits were needed, or prior to that, and then he found out later? Just curious.
So he contacted me. We spoke on October 30th. And the work was done between October 30th and November 3rd, as far as I could.
I have another question. Regarding, apparently this can cause flooding. Is that correct?
Mr. President, because the pipe that he buried
Yeah.
is the outlet pipe of the Gertens nursery stormwater pond. Most of their site, the southern 2/3 of their site drains to that pond. So if that pond doesn't have an outlet, the water is going to pond up more into that pond, flood their property, and then ultimately it will overtap and go back into the Geffrey property.
Okay.
The nursery seems to have stopped operations for the fall, and so they likely won't notice any problem until the spring when the pond floods.
And some disaster occurs, maybe. That's my take. Okay, so,
Where are we on the grant? Then, and when is that gonna be determined?
The state said that the grants would be determined May, approximately May of 2026.
So it
But then
having,
once you receive it, if we're lucky enough to get a grant, then there's a lot of planning and engineering and permits that you have to obtain before you actually build.
Yeah, so as you know, it's not a guarantee.
yeah, for sure. But is this actually beneficial to Goose Lake then? Because this water that had been going in polluting Goose Lake is now going to be backing up onto the Gertens property?
I don't see this as a permanent solution. I see Gertens pumping water over the berm or doing something, because the water ultimately goes to Goose Lake. It'll want to go there in the future.
Okay, so what I'm thinking is before. Yeah, I have some idea of what we can do, and I realize that we have some options here. Is there anything that can be undone, or, and you may have mentioned something earlier, something that we can do to mitigate it or to make it better? To have to avoid removing it altogether.
There should be a safe conveyance of water out of Gertens land.
Okay.
The natural conveyance route is through the Geffrey property.
So the next one is, if we were to say, you can't have that there, you need to remove it this time of year. There doesn't seem to be a problem, but maybe in spring removal or something else. What are your thoughts on that?
Mr. President, managers include the memo are a couple of options.
Yep.
That legal counsel and Engineer Phillips and I had discussed. One would be to deny the permit. Second would be to table approval or denial of the permit until we gather more information. Since the memo is written, I did contact the city of Lake Elmo. The city of Lake Elmo asked the property owner to stop. As far as the city of Lake Elmo knows, as they can tell from viewing the property from public roads, he has stopped, and so they do not plan to take any further action until he applies to do some additional work.
All right.
So the reasoning to table listed in the memo
Yeah.
is no longer valid. And then the third option would be to issue after the fact permit with site-specific conditions. And one of those site-specific conditions in the memo is that within 30 days that the permit is approved, that the permittee obtain and provide written documentation from the adjacent property owner that the pipe can be buried or that he restores flow from the pond.
Again, that seems simple, but my only concern with this is that it's winter and things are gonna be difficult, and it's kind of we're in a wait and see situation, as I see it. Yes, sir.
Option one, deny the permit. Where do we go from there? I mean, do we just deny the permit and we all walk away, or what? We just ignore it then?
Counselor?
That's exactly the issue, is if we ignore it, if we deny the permit, because the fill isn't really the problem, it's the fact that he buried this pipe. So if we ignore it, then what next? Can we ask him to remove the fill? Can we ask him to unbury the pipe? Those are options. I'll tell you that we could bring a civil suit to ask him to do it, but that's the reaction that I thought you might have. And I have concerns about enforcement of our rules if we are not, it's like we're going in and saying, you're not doing this the way that we want you to do it. Which we certainly could do, but I feel that we'd have a stronger arm in enforcing a permit than just enforcing our rules, like going in and saying, you tried to do this, you didn't do it the right way, and now you have to restore the property to what it was before. Rather than saying, we gave you a chance to fix it and you didn't fix it the way we asked you to. And now you're in violation of our permits. So between the two options, the enforcement that we have is going to court. But I feel better about giving a permit and saying, here's the conditions for the permit. And if you fail, then we're seeking enforcement of our permit. versus denying the permit and then saying you're in violation of our rules. Technically being in violation of the permit, violation of the rules is the same thing, but
So if I may, so obviously we need a surety. And the permit issue is double for an after the fact. That might help mitigate the situation in case they need to do something when the weather turns. So
the surety would
I'm
be
open
what
to-
would
you
cover that.
you
Yeah,
feel
hopefully.
sufficient, and I don't know how the managers feel about charging him twice. What we do for what typically happens, or we waive it.
Mr. President, that's the board's policy, that for after the fact permits,
I
instead of
understand.
waiving it for individual, you charge double.
Right. Question is, do the managers feel comfortable waiving it, or shall we go ahead and charge them double, which I believe it's $2,000?
Yeah.
You're not
I think
into that
it-
idea, Rick?
No, I think keeping that in place, given the circumstances, it seems appropriate.
Okay. Simple? Okay. I agree with the counselor. I think this is important for us because we want to handle this as delicately as possible. But we want to make sure it doesn't cause any further trouble, and that'll happen in time, I assume.
We're between a neighbor dispute essentially, and this property owner has taken it upon himself to act. And now the district is involved. So unfortunately, that's the position that we're in. And so we're just trying again to delicately balance all the issues that are going on here. Whatever you decide tonight, my office will draft a resolution that outlines the background and considerations being made here tonight, just so we have a written resolution of what's happened, whether you deny or approve the permit tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
And that'll be on the January meeting.
Okay. Mr. Inspector.
Just thinking about the timing of this, the awareness of the permit requirements from us, but also the city and the work being done before knowingly getting the work done in that time period. I'd ask the city to put a stop work order on the site. Well, he was done before the stop work order could be effective. So I'm not sure whether the city is another one to rely on this, and maybe it's a grading permit for the city, I would think, he's not building anything, it's just a grading permit. So I don't know what kind of teeth the city has in a grading permit,
The
but
city does not plan to do any additional follow-up.
nothing, okay.
Okay.
So that's unfortunate. Because they have some teeth that they
Right.
can use.
And that's why we initially thought option 2 would be great. We'll just get more information and then we'll talk about it again in January, but we have that information now and it doesn't really help our debacle.
Do any of the managers have any comment, or they would like to make a motion on this? Okay,
Well, I guess I'd like a little more clarity on the what ifs of, okay, so we issue a permit. And
back for a minute.
after the fact permit,
Sure.
and there are conditions in that permit that require changes to what has been done already.
Correct.
Okay. And that would put it back into compliance for what we're looking for from a Valley Branch policy perspective.
Yes.
Comfortable with that, Rick? Yes, Jim.
Question, I mean, it's just, the season we're in. I mean, the 60 days to get the work done. I'm just wondering, is that, I understand that normally 60 days would be great, but now things are closing
It's
solid.
gonna be like Siberia.
And I'm just wondering if, is that unreasonable to require the work to be done in 60 days? And is there any wiggle room on that to say 180 days or something to get us out of the frozen and the mud season in the spring to where they can actually get some work done?
Or is there
Yeah, or we
critical
could table the
path
permit.
kind of stuff?
Maybe
That's
when
involved too.
conditions allow for it or something like that, when weather or conditions allow for grading work or excavation work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at it from a practical standpoint.
Sure, and that's reasonable, and 60 days seems like a short time. But I'm also thinking if we go ahead and table this permit, we're gonna revisit it anyway. So that might not be such a bad thing because nothing's gonna happen, correct? Is that reasonable? No, sir? What's your take, John?
Legal counsel has taught me that you want to be as clear as possible and not be vague in your decisions. And so having a decision that says something about when possible, I think that would be difficult and subjective to enforce.
We
are
had
there-
directed, or advised, when Barr sent us this memo, we had advised that we thought a timeline would be appropriate in this case. We want to be able to look back and say, he has violated our permit on this day if he does not get that condition done. Now, we deferred to Barr in determining what would be an appropriate timeline here. So that is your engineer's advice on what would be an appropriate timeline to have the pipe figured out. And maybe it's something like we're working with him on written permission to bury the pond outlet or a plan on how flow will be restored, and flow must be restored by spring or when conditions permit. Now, again, that makes it more squishy.
Yes,
And then we're kind of dealing with the problem of, well, when conditions permit, is that pond gonna then flood? And then we have a problem because he didn't do it in time. So those are just some other things to consider.
right, and so if we issue, if we make a motion this evening, we can add to the timeframe to go beyond the 60 days.
You certainly could.
And we can say that when conditions permit. I'm not exactly sure what that is.
I guess I would suggest maybe April 1st or some calendar day, or instead of 60 days, make it 100.
Yeah.
Just thinking about when the spring melt occurs,
Right.
you want
Yeah,
it to
yeah.
be functioning prior to that.
So,
And you don't want to be in an argument about, well, it wasn't feasible or it was feasible. Well, he's the one that caused it.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm thinking 180 days. I mean, if Gertons are upset and wanna, that's between Gertons and them. It's only Gertons that's getting harmed by this pipe being buried.
not us.
Not us,
Meaning-
and we're doing our part to try to get it free flowing again, but the timing is that, I just feel like we ought to put a reasonable time frame in here.
Okay,
And not have them throw that back in our face that.
I have a question
Yes, sir.
for legal counsel on it then. So if we push it out and then there's damages on the Gertens property, then have we looped ourselves? I mean, this is a property dispute between two property owners, but if we're allowing them substantial time to do what to get this done, and it causes problems with Gertens, and are we in hot water with Gertens? And because we extended that permit out longer than we normally would for someone who didn't apply, who knew they were supposed to apply for a permit in the first place and just ignored us, ignored the city. And now we are in a legal dispute, even if we're not the primary defendant.
Right. And I will say that, anyone can bring anyone into a suit regardless
Sure.
of how
Yeah.
substantiated the claims are. That being said, I really think having this as a condition of the permit shows the district is trying to remedy the situation. The district is not turning a blind eye to the fact that he has done this in violation of the watershed's rules. So while Gertens could bring us into a lawsuit at any time, I think we have pretty defensible claims that we are trying to restore the flow.
Counselor, that's what we like to hear. Thank you. So you guys
I
think, yeah, right, go
I have
ahead.
a slightly different
What's your take?
approach on it.
Yeah,
Is there a critical component to the work that needs to be done to keep Gertens property from flooding? So is there a way to even temporarily make that culvert operational and not worry so much about, all the grading and, and the final result, but worry about, is the water going to flow appropriately, and we're going to prevent the flooding that is likely to happen in the spring. And I know we don't want to get into designing that process, but if we put it as a condition for, one of the site-specific conditions, then maybe that can happen earlier. Maybe that can happen with, yet this year or, before the ground freezes too deep. And have that part of the function, the functionality of the site work. Does that make sense?
I think
It does
that
to some
condition
extent.
Mhm.
covers
Yeah.
that. It's just, the 180 would be a maximum time frame.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think the condition as it's written covers what you're saying. That
Mhm.
item 3, you can look at that again, right?
Okay.
If that, I'm mistaken.
President Marchand?
Yes, sir.
If I might, may just make a comment about current conditions, because we had snow on top of ground that wasn't really frozen. We didn't really have a hard freeze here
Okay,
into November and and then we had a blanket of snow on top of it. So the frost may not be if there's much frost, it might not be much at all.
Yeah.
So maybe it's totally doable to make those adjustments just due to the conditions with the snow on top of before frost. We've seen this before where people can go out and start digging in January because everything is insulated underneath.
Okay.
So, maybe the conditions allow for that repair to happen next week. So just a comment, just going out on some permit closeouts and finding that the sod underneath the snow was mushy. It's like, well, there's nothing that's frozen underneath. So just a comment from conditions out there.
My comment was the same, because we've all seen
right.
heavy equipment moving dirt around in the middle of the winter, right? It can be done if the machine's big enough, but. Couple of questions. Do we know the behavior of this individual? Did they know that a permit was required and they decided not to get one?
As far as I can tell, yes.
Well, then that kind of
How tough do we want
attacks the
to?
integrity of our permit system, and I think we need to respond not in a, in a vindictive way, but I think we need to respond firmly to make sure that we stand by the integrity of our permit program.
That's reasonable. Okay.
President Marchand,
Yes.
I would be okay with 60 days, given the whole snow and maybe it's not frozen thing, and if it's a solid attempt and can't do it within 60 days, to have to come back to us maybe, but I
I
would
think,
be okay with that.
I think that adds some communication that we're very concerned about it and that it needs to be
That's
put
gonna
right
happen.
as soon as
Mr.
possible.
Engineer will share that with with those people, right? Or Engineer Phillips. One of you gentlemen.
We'll receive a copy of the permit if you approve a permit.
Okay. So with that said, I'm gonna make an attempt here to, I want to make a motion to, have an after the fact permit for 2025-52 with the stipulation that they have 60 days. What is it they have to do?
Maybe just say specifically with the suggested site-specific conditions.
With the suggested site-specific conditions
That's applicable standard.
and applicable standard.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 Right.
And again, we'll follow up with a resolution on this at the next meeting.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you for your help on that. Okay, that's squared away.
President Marchand?
Yes, sir.
Just have a question. Our visitor here had a concern and a question, the reason he came here tonight, and I was just looking at the agenda afterwards, and I'm just wondering where, other than the public forum, where would addressing his concern fall in our agenda?
He came as a visitor.
Okay,
And so
so-
he's essentially an observer.
So
Just another freaking
Okay.
observer. You heard that.
so you're not looking for a discussion on that? Okay,
Right now, just.
all right. I'm glad I got clarified. I just wanted to make sure you weren't waiting to
Yeah.
say something to us and we're ignoring you, so.
You haven't walked too far out of the Clear Lake, have you?
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, here we go. Let's move on to our next item, and that's going to be the 2025 infrastructure and command system inspection, operation and maintenance. Okay, Mr. Phillips,
Yeah.
lead us into this discussion.
Sure. So I do have a brief presentation. I know it's behind you, so.
I work, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, you included in your packet is the kind of year-end summary report with the recommendations for next year as well. If you happen to look on it, the digital copy, I do apologize. We had a slight miscommunication on some of the figures that got included. They're right in the paper copies. They got missed in the digital one. So we've corrected that. It'll be right on the website. But just in case you went that route. So yeah, just a pretty brief presentation here. You've all been on the board now for a couple of years, and so a lot of this will be fairly routine and similar to what you've seen in the past. That's been, I kind of repolished and reorganized this presentation just a little bit for you, but for the most part, it's pretty consistent with previous years. So at a high level, we're just going to talk about some of the basically the infrastructure, that water body outlets and the constructed stormwater treatment systems. The natural systems and stabilization projects that have been done on those, and then a couple of just general items in terms of O&M. Again, what was completed in 2025, and then what we're recommending moving forward for 2026. So I've shared this slide in the past, but at a high level, this is the typical inspection frequencies that we're been implementing as part of this overall O&M program for the district. So for the infrastructure, those first two rows, we're inspecting those systems annually, looking for any potential defects or problems. Sometimes it's plugging, sometimes it's deterioration, things like that. For the natural systems, those are so Valley Creek, Kells Creek, the different creek systems and such. We're generally walking the majority of those about every 4 years, just kind of rotating through the systems. It helps balance out, level out your budgets over the years, and then it's also allowing us to have eyes on those systems and identify potential problems again, erosion issues, potential projects, and a lot of your stabilization projects over the years have come out of those sort of inspections. With those stabilization projects, about every other year is what we've been doing at this point. So checking on those and looking for any, again, deterioration or failing. You may recall in 2024, we did some repairs on one of those projects that was about 15 years old. So that's kind of the process there. So I'm going to jump through, again, those different sections. So starting with the infrastructure, got a nice photo of our tripod set up at the rest area pond dam. You've all been there now as part of the tour. But so our staff do go in and inspect those infrastructure. So this is a pretty simple one. We go and inspect these every year. So just kind of letting you know we completed that work, and get into more specifics here. In terms of the infrastructure maintenance, so just as a reminder, again, there's a lot of this has been in front of you over the last year, but back in March, BAR did some collection of sediment samples to evaluate some of the environmental factors within those Project 1007 channels. That was recommended by the board last January. I'll cover that a little bit more in a future slide because there's a little bit more to that one, but just kind of listing out the different things. We also did a project or assisted with a project for repairs at the West Lakeland Storage Site outlet, and then also the Long Lake outlet. So repairing the trash grates and adding a trash grate. The photo on top there is a new concrete pipe that was installed at the outlet of that channel. Essentially that was an old deteriorated corrugated metal pipe. You may recall the televising inspections that were done a couple of years ago identified that, and then that was repaired this past year. There are some other miscellaneous things, some tree removal work along these channels just to facilitate some of the annual mowing, and also a lot of those trees were falling down into the channels, starting to get into your infrastructure, which can cause some flooding issues. And then there's some annual mowing that's done once a year on some of this infrastructure as well. So again, this slide is pretty simple because these are things that are inspected annually. So all of those would be the next calendar year. I'm just realizing now that should all say 2026. So apologize for that, but those are all 2026 inspections. We just continue that annual process. On the maintenance infrastructure maintenance recommendations for next year. So there's a number of these are kind of that smaller dollar amount. still important things and we'll, work with contractors to tackle those. But I think the two I thought we could focus in on perhaps would be, the Weber Pond outlet. Let's see if I do got a little animation there. So the two larger dollar amount items here, are the ones we'll focus in on. So, the Weber Pond outlet that's up in Matamidi, and then those channels, in West Lakeland Township. I have a couple of slides on these. Yeah, but
So one of those runs parallel to 10,
yes,
and that's a long way, so I'm
that is
for some sort of justification for that.
big numbers. Yeah, for sure. Yep. And let me, it'll be one slide ahead here. So
Yeah.
starting with the Weber Pond outlet, so the city of Matamidi, Public Works staff contacted Bar, a couple months ago now. There were some sustained high water levels on Weber Pond there. It was starting to back up onto one of the residential roads and encroaching on a couple of garages. There are some low garages there, which is a little bit of a challenging location, but essentially, Bar staff went out and met with Public Works from Matamidi to take a look at things. And ultimately, it sounds like what likely happened is a family of beavers moved into the pond there, and was essentially plugged this outlet pipe. So the photo on the bottom left is what the outlet structure, the trash grate. I know it's kind of hard to tell, get your bearings there, but that trash grate was fully open and functional last October when we did our annual inspection. The middle photo is this fall where it had been completely plugged and blocked by sediment, muck, debris likely from beaver activity. The pond is partly on private property, and they are working on that private property owner is working on trapping those beavers to try to protect and prevent some of that flooding.
He's doing that himself.
He is, yes.
Is he aware of our program or?
I don't know specifically. He'd been primarily in contact with the city on that work.
Okay.
The program is available for him, but I have not spoken with him personally.
I assume there's some sort of a DNR allows something or other about removing those animals without a particular.
Yes, I don't have the details on that at
Okay.
this time. So essentially in conversations with City of Matamidi, this infrastructure, so this outlet from the pond is owned by the district. And so it does appear appropriate that the district would then do this maintenance on it to just restore flow through this structure. So it's a little bit of a combination of probably clearing out a little bit of right in front of it out in the pond and then jetting or otherwise clearing out those pipes. So I've had some preliminary conversations with a couple contractors we could reach out to, but I'm waiting for authorization to proceed with this. Any questions on that one? Otherwise, I'll keep going.
No, keep going. So, oh, yeah, one very quick one. This is bolted down, obviously.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all.
It is, you can see the very middle of that circle is open at the moment, but there's actually another grate that goes on that too, that locks it down.
Okay.
So the bigger picture one here is that those channels, again, along County Road 10, they kind of meander up towards Manning Avenue eventually. And so this is something that's been, we've had on the list here for a number of years. I do want to just be very upfront that this is not as high a priority as some of the other items. So we've identified this as generally a medium priority task. So it may not be as high or as critical as something like that previous structure we just looked at. But again, we collected some sediment samples back in March and evaluated it for your typical stormwater pollutant items, and then also for some PFAS contamination. At a high level, so you directed us to assist with this back in January. The PCA actually did change some of the PFAS regulation between January and March when this was done. And in talking with our staff at BAR, who are experts in the world of PFAS, these regulations are kind of ever changing and ever evolving, which is a challenging environment to do this sort of work. Essentially, the detection levels or the analysis levels that the PCA has set are comparable to just ambient background levels, and so it's put a lot lot of pieces of this in a challenging spot, and it's kind of a unique environment to function in. So ultimately, the recommendations from our staff and as we've evaluated this is more of that conservative approach. So we've talked about different options of how to possibly reuse or mitigate the costs of having to landfill all this material. But given the ever evolving landscape, it seems that the most appropriate approach would be to just landfill that material and dispose of it. There are landfills now that are taking PFAS material, but it is often expensive when it has some of those higher thresholds. That said, the big picture budget, as you've seen, is really high. Go ahead. Yeah.
I just wonder if you have an estimate of what that cost would be if we didn't have to go to the special landfill.
Sure. Yes and no. So I think the other challenging thing is there are not very clear regulations right now on what exactly the landfills can or can't take. So one of the landfills that we have connections at and have communications with, I guess their team, they have specifically installed a PFAS seepage collection system and have processes in place. It's not clear that that's actually required at this point, and again, the PCA guidance is changing. So
Seems discretionary.
It's a hard question to answer, unfortunately, at this point, because the regulations keep changing and what's required keeps changing.
Yeah, what I was thinking about in the back of my mind is, I mean, this isn't urgent, but if we're required to go to the special landfill and there's that program where we can apply for money from the 3M settlement, would there be some opportunity for us to apply for some of that 3M money just for the difference in cost?
Sure.
To
Go to the special landfill versus normal disposal.
And assuming the landfill doesn't somehow end up back where we are.
Anyway, that was what's rolling in the back of my mind.
It's a good thought. I do think that, I mean, that grant is closed and, yeah, not sure that would be feasible at this
It's not
time.
750 million anymore, is it?
So all of that to say, I guess, this is a little bit more of that conservative approach, acknowledging that a lot of this regulation is changing and likely this would be something that could be proceeded with, even with some of the nuances and changing regulations. But again, $920,000 is more than your overall O&M budget for the whole year. So one approach that you could take, and would be certainly happy to hear feedback on this, would be to do some of that final design and permitting in the future year, because there is some budget available to do so. And then some sort of a phased construction over 2 to 3 years after that. Again, this is maybe not the highest priority. There could be other things, but you do have the budget available too. So I think it's balancing your, needs and budgets and considering those options.
So there's a concern for efficiency and flooding, of course, but it seems obvious, unless you know otherwise, that we need to take this in a piecemeal way to, be effective and cost effective.
I think that would be the best approach, and generally is how I've laid this out as a recommendation for next.
Okay, that seems simple enough. Please continue, sir.
Yeah. That's kind of all I have on that one.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how many years have we budgeted this amount of money for infrastructure maintenance? We've done it pretty regularly, so.
Yeah, Mr. President, Vice President Kara, there was probably a jump in the budget, maybe 7 years ago or so. Before it was pretty steady, but then you have taken on a lot more maintenance and inspection activities more recently.
So what I'm thinking about and maybe concerned about is trying to do what we can to avoid, any fiscal surprises, if you will. So then simply, I mean, we have a lot of infrastructure. We're gonna have to commit funds to it every year to maintain it properly. That's no brainer. Are there gonna be some years where it might need to be 750 instead of 500,000? I mean, it seems like for our annual budgeting, when we start preparing that, we should take a close look, or maybe even a few years down the road, like the next couple of years, 500 grand would be good, but in 2029, it looks like we're gonna need more, something like that, so.
My guess is that we've been relying on BAR, but basically they're ahead of the game in that we're anticipating, and I'd like to take a special interest in this sort of thing.
Oh, sure.
And so far, we're doing what I believe.
I'll probably ask them what they're already doing. I'm just.
Yes, sir.
asking
Yeah,
them
no, it's
to-
okay.
to
Yeah,
make
you gotta,
sure
but you
that-
gotta learn. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what do we do for what if we have like a catastrophic failure in the system somewhere that we did not see coming? What do we do that, and it has to be addressed?
Sure.
We have a rainy day fund for something like that?
Reallocation of funds. That's essentially what we have. And so far, we haven't had any disasters that puts us in a position where, we've got the pockets open and we're asking for help. And that's happened before.
Yeah.
That was with flooding in the homes. For some loans, but for the most part, we've been staying on top of it. And we've been doing this without having anything go wrong in anticipation of the future, like with the pipe underneath Lake Elmo. I believe that was the one.
Correct.
Okay. So these sort of things, yeah.
Would we ever want to consider having a modest rainy day fund? I get the reallocation thing, that makes sense, but that also means that you're taking from other programs, and so some things aren't gonna happen. You do that.
It all depends. I agree with you that we don't want to do that, but if you look at a carryover and what we've been doing, and you can chime in anytime you like, Rick, but the thing is that that's essentially what we've been doing, and we haven't been scraping by. It's gone well.
Yeah.
So far.
So in other words, in most years, we have considerable carryover that could have been deployed if we had a catastrophic problem somewhere.
Yes, sir. Somebody tell me otherwise, but I think that's what we're doing.
Mr. President, I think you summarized it well. There's also a $250,000 emergency fund that the managers could tap, a $250,000 emergency fund that the managers could tap into if they'd like. And there's also a little bit of a contingency fund with the inspection and maintenance budget.
And we've added reserves on top of that. You're aware of that.
You're with me, by the way, because I have one hearing aid that's in the shop.
Oh, that's great.
Going like this with my one functional one.
It's not rifle fire. So thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
That's something that we've covered. Sir, would you like to proceed?
Sure, I do have a few more slides. So I guess the two pieces of this is looking at all those,
Right.
conveyance systems. So there are those natural systems as well, and then the stabilization projects that are within those. I'll try to go pretty quick. Do you want to add something there or no?
Just very quickly, on
Yeah.
the stabilization projects, this is like Kells Creek and other areas. When it becomes a priority
Mhm.
of dire necessity, if I can say that, then we address it. But for the most part, we haven't had to do that, correct?
Yes, so I think you've taken on several different stabilization projects over the years. Often, some significant or severe erosion has been identified. Often that's less so in this O&M, but it's more of your water quality improvement fund and those sort of things. But essentially, when a project is completed, it kind of gets rolled into this program. So as you complete different infrastructure or other projects, then it gets rolled into this and maintained kind of in the long run. We've covered this. I won't spend a ton of time here, but again, we're about every 4 years, we're looking at things. This year, we did look at Valley Creek and those drainage areas. There's a number of stabilization projects. Obviously, it's the namesake of the district, and it's a very important water body. So that was inspected this year, as well as a handful of the more significant severe sites on some of the other systems. not a whole lot of maintenance. I mean, really, the maintenance would just be on those stabilization projects. And the main thing is just that, when you did the repairs on Valley Creek down on the Nicholson property and on a portion of Elwin's property, there was 3 years of vegetation establishment that was part of that project in a burn. So some of that occurred in 2025. So just kind of have a brief note on that. And then the other things I think I wanted to just make note of. So in 2025, there was a little bit of budget available for that, for some erosion along Farney Creek and looking at some potential concepts and engaging property owners.
That's over in Oakdale, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, that one that is one that was submitted also as one of those 3M PFAS grants. So the budget the small budget that we had available this year was used to develop those concept designs. Some of them are kind of shown on there for reference, but pulling those together, submitting to that grant, and again, that is something we anticipate to hear back from more next spring. Likely it would not be anything within your O&M budget. Likely that would be some sort of a new project, some water quality improvement type effort, but just making note of something that was done this past year, and being able to submit for a grant for that was great to be able to do that.
We've got another weird one.
Yeah.
With these C's manhole covers, is that a blowtorch and WD-40 or what? Why is it $3,000?
I'm not sure. It's a tricky one. So
Yeah.
we hired a contractor a couple years ago to address a handful of these, and some of the same ones keep seizing up. I talked to our crews and they were out there banging on them, trying to get them open, and it just, they're locked up. They're actually pulling up the pavement around the structure as they were trying to get it removed. And so we're kind of pausing at that point, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what those contractors actually did to get them open. When they went out there, it might be a blowtorch. I'm not really sure. But anytime you start getting a contractor hired and involved and kind of having to come out to do things, it adds up a lot of money. So
Don't cause any more damage.
right.
One thought that crossed my mind, when I saw all the manhole covers that were having problems, is that a systemic thing? Is it something that maybe that component of the infrastructure is failing throughout the system at a little higher rate than other parts of it?
Truthfully, I don't think so. I think there's some unique something going on in a couple of these. You have something like 60 structures, and there's like 2 or 3 that have been a little bit problematic. So I don't think so is my short answer. But it's a good thought.
I hear they can coat them with Teflon and
Right,
have it not be as much of a problem.
Non-stick manhole
Yeah.
covers.
like your mayo jars or something. Yeah, there's ways. That's why I was curious. I'd go $3,000 for what? You tap it a couple of times and maybe,
So yeah, I'd say that has been attempted already a couple
Okay.
times, and it's something more is needed. We're not quite sure what.
Okay.
We need to like grind them down around the edges. Is there some casting?
I think that's the
parts that are-
conversation we'd have with some contractor to help us figure that one out.
But to add to that, or to finish that off, you folks could make sure that is what is happening, so that you find out.
Right.
And so that in the future, if we need to do that, we can apply
Yeah,
our
yeah.
own little.
Yep.
And get her done or something.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Certainly,
But
we
it's
haven't
just
really
costs.
encountered this issue much in the past.
Okay.
The last handful of years, we've noticed it. So
Okay.
I think we can do a little due diligence and try to
So
have this one be addressed moving forward.
You guys don't have big tough guys with sledgehammers working for bar, right?
You're looking at them.
No jokes, right? All right then,
All right, a few more and then I'll wrap it up here. So
Okay,
I guess
yes,
the other
sir.
one I'll mention, so Kells Creek is another spot where we have quite a few
yeah,
issues with erosion on some of these banks. And so we've, again, last year, this past year, we developed some concept designs for this. Had some initial meetings with the conservation district and property owners. There's a lot more property owners in this reach than some of the other ones that we've done. And so it's a little more complicated. There's a lot more stakeholders, a lot more people to involve. And it's a much more difficult site to access. So there's a long route to get down to this, and you're kind of deep in a valley in Afton. So there's we've started a lot of this process and made some good progress, but, have some continued work to do in the next year. I think the hope would be that, if there are grant opportunities for funding, if there are, I guess, approval from property owners, this could be a water quality improvement project that you take on at some point in the future. But we're trying to kind of get it to that point where it's ready to move to that next step. So, just sort of an update on status on this one, and just so the board's aware.
Very good, sir. I've traversed that entire area, and it's,
It's steep.
I did a movie and, but I was more afraid of the ticks than anything else.
Sure.
Okay,
So, just looking ahead for next year for those natural systems, Raleigh Creek and Barney Creek are the ones that are kind of up on that 4-year cycle. A few of the other ones, we'd just be monitoring those more significant severe sites. And then the stabilization projects, we generally broke out roughly kind of the north half of the district, north of 94 and then south of 94. The exceptions, some of those on the south half are, so like Valley Creek ones, those are just because that vegetation maintenance is still going. So we'd be kind of checking in on that contractor for that work.
okay.
So the last thing, just some of this general non-site specific stuff. If you happen to have gone to the district's website in the last week, the web map has been updated. I know John and I are probably the most heavy power users of that anyway, but we do have a number of permit applicants and others that use that. So you may recall from last year, the web map was being sunsetted and no longer maintained, that hosting platform. So we've kind of switched that over to the latest and greatest. And then just there's regular ongoing updates and maintenance and such that happens with that. So
And everything is done with automatic ACA compliance.
that was added into things as well.
Okay. Very good.
Yep. Otherwise, just updates, Gopher State won't call locating services. That's continued. We're getting about 500 of those requests a year. Those primarily come to me, but we do have a couple of backups as well. This year, there's 26 different times where we had staff going out and marking those. And then just a note, so Washington Conservation District is also going out and inspecting these different, practices and things. We saw a number of those on the tour. But there's 16 of them that they inspected this year, which had more than $5,000 of funding from the district, from Valley Branch Watershed District. So just a note on that. Some of these kind of not specific to anything, but the bigger picture of.
That's to be done.
Yeah. So we're recommending more or less continuing those things moving forward. The one thing I'll, I guess, point out on this one is, we did have a suggestion for this year to, do an inventory of spots where drainage easements are not necessarily following the district's infrastructure. There's a few of those locations, and it kind of came to light with some of the flooding in the past years, and then also with this channel maintenance project. So we recommend that just to kind of have that system in place and knowledge in place, so that if there's opportunities or if this maintenance moves forward, we have that identified and could address that at that time. Not a huge budget item, but it's something we've only briefly talked about in the past. So
Is that incorporated into what?
That is, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
So with that, I guess this is laying out what I have, and this is what's also in your cover memo and such. So it's 94,000 for inspections. There's not a ton of that high priority maintenance items this year, which I think is, again, a sign that you've been regularly investing in and maintaining your infrastructure. So that's, only 110. And so then there's that opportunity. Our recommendation would be to start doing that design and permitting and such for the channel maintenance, with construction phased over the next several years. And then, continue to have Washington Conservation District and Ramsey as well do their inspections. That puts you at 429 for 2026 with the budget of 500,000. So
I would do that.
that's where we've landed. But happy
Very
to
good.
talk through other questions if you have them.
Then 429 is in 2026, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, the managers have anything they'd like to add or say? Mr. Inspector, you can as well. Feeling good about this one? It's a lot of
I'm
money.
familiar with a lot of the stuff, but
Rick,
This is probably way down in the weeds. But in looking at the retention pond on Silver Lake,
Yeah.
it was mentioned in the report that there's a pathway developing that may be compressing some of the soil. It seems like, encouraging the notion of, say, stepping stones or a small bridge in that area would be, I think, a nice added feature in the city, as well as something that would prevent some of that compression. That might be worthwhile suggesting to North St. Paul as something to consider,
Excellent.
as a way to,
Get them
keep that
involved.
functioning properly and at the same time,
Yes, sir.
add to the park.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice. It's exciting because I really like when we're on top of this. This is a big issue and it could cause major problems for us if we don't stay on top. And so that's pretty obvious. So if I don't hear anything else, I can make a motion. And I'm gonna follow exactly what the requested manager action is here. 'Cause I couldn't do it any other way. Sir, did you have anything else?
No.
Okay. All right then. We want, I'd like to make a motion to monitor the Valley Branch Watershed District systems at the frequency listed in section 7.1 of the report for a total estimated cost of $94,000. Obtain bids for the completion of all high priority maintenance activities in section 7.2 for a total estimated maintenance cost of $110,000. Initiate final design easement preparation and permitting for the future maintenance of the channels between Horseshoe Lake and the West Lakeland Storage Site North Pond, for which construction could be phased over several years, starting in 2027. And finally, direct the Washington Conservation District and Ramsey Conservation District to submit annual inspection reports on all the projects that Valley Branch Watershed District supported with contributions of $5,000 or more. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 It is approved. Thank you, gentlemen. Made my day. Okay. By the way, I like this report. It was, you kind of befuddled and what do we have to take care of next? So it's gonna, for some time, it'll be a reference for me. Sure. So I'll be hanging on to it. Bathroom reading. Sorry. Okay. That's too much information. Okay.
Not tonight, Ed.
Yeah, yes, I'll be, right.
No, I mean,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, just in case they're working on the bathroom here, and so the facilities outdoor, and yeah. Thank you. All right, our next item here is the levy and budget. We have a motion required on this, and know how much discussion we need on this. Is there anything you'd like to add, Mr. Engineer? Rick? I think the numbers have changed, but it's essentially reallocating funds, correct?
Yes, Mr. President, the overall levy and the overall budgets are the same as what the board approved earlier this year.
Okay, yes, sir.
The budget, if I read this correctly, the budget was changed so we could support zebra mussel monitoring and Long Lake and downstream to down the Channel Lakes downstream.
Yes, that's correct. So I reallocated individual line item budgets to have the budget to do that.
And how much was that?
I don't remember the total off my head, but it was
Approximately.
it's been included into
I'm really, Lake Aquatic Plant Monitoring, 24.
yes, line 24. So I
Yeah,
believe
Yeah, 20,
I believe about half of that. So I believe around $30,000.
that seems reasonable?
Yeah, and you know, for the record, I'm gonna, sound like a broken record and repeat my cautionary statement from meetings past, and that is that I'm fine with this. I think I think the monitoring is good to do, but I just want us to be careful that we don't get sucked into the black hole of aquatic invasive species stuff, because I've seen over 30 years, I've seen an awful lot of money wasted on stuff that doesn't help anything at all.
Yes, sir.
That's the cautionary note, that's all it is, so. And I'm disappointed that the piece, the DNR didn't support that experimental control effort. I understand why they made that decision, and I'm not arguing against it. It was just disappointing that they didn't move forward with it.
I think we're wise.
He's a DNR. Go figure. You didn't hear that one, did you?
No,
Okay.
I'm bad here.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think,
sir.
Don, I think we're wise to collect information to be able to be ready
Yeah.
to respond to the
Right, that's
situation.
okay, yeah.
And I really feel that's our focus.
Yes.
Provide the data, provide the technical foundation on which other organizations
And
can.
that's why I stated I support.
Okay. If nothing further, I would like to make a motion to approve the 2026 levy and budget from Engineer Hanson to submit the required documents to Washington and Ramsey County. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye,
Hi,
that is approved. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm gonna go through there, okay? Move on to the next one here. Oh, we did it on time. Inspection services. We need to discuss this one, right? Yeah. Okay. Actually, I should like to have Mr. Jeff Brower tell us what's happening here.
President Murtaugh and managers, I am retiring. And so the plan would be to host this, get candidates that would be interviewed, and then I would help transition that position to somebody new. Yeah.
I'm not gonna cry.
So
That-
it's been a great run. I've enjoyed it. I think it's been 8 years, or is it 9 years, John? I think it's 8 for sure. I think it's 8.
Don't,
And it's been a great job, great board to work with. I've enjoyed working with everybody. Bar's been fantastic to work with. All the board members, everybody, the attorneys have been great.
even counselor?
Oh, yeah, she's helped out, but I needed some help. So I really enjoyed it, but I'm at the point where I need to start the next phase of what I'm gonna be doing. So I think it's a good time for me to phase out and bring some younger blood into the position. So,
I don't know if they can fill your shoes now. You
oh,
take it easy now. I'm not gonna gush or anything, but you've been an absolute asset. And it's a terrible thing, but we know it has to happen. On top of your duties, you have a particular way with people. And it's wonderful, and that's what we want to stress with the Watershed District. That you're kind and friendly and understandable, and you don't wave your cudgel too often. And even when you do, it's got flowers on it. Does that sound okay, Colin? Okay, with that said,
well, thank you. That's very kind. I appreciate that. And
that's
likewise, I've enjoyed working with everybody. It's been a great phase of work life for me. I really enjoyed it.
now per our conversation. You pointed out that you'd be willing, as you exit, that the incoming person who replaces you can learn some things, and this will benefit us. And so, gentlemen, you've all seen what we're looking for, but we also want personality on top of what seems obvious. You know, pick up 50 pounds and blah, blah, blah. Everybody has seen this. If any of the managers have anything they'd like to add on this, by all means, let us know. But for the most part, this is what we've established, actually, John and Jeff, to see if we can find a person that fills the bill, that is willing to work the particular or peculiar hours. And sometimes it's a lot, and sometimes not much. And also, if possible, a local. So that might be a tough thing. When we were up at the, conference, the Watershed conference, I spoke to a couple of people, and one particular, young lady, excited me, about a potential candidate, but she's over in Bloomington, and, that's not gonna happen, so. We're gonna keep looking, and apparently there are other people that might be interested. And so with that said, I'm essentially finding out that telling me can word of mouth, that sort of thing, in addition to what we're going to do. We're posting this, right? Or we have already.
Mr. President, if you direct me, I'll do what's laid out in the, it hasn't been done.
Sir, make that so. I want to direct you to add to this and begin to look at candidates, and then we can make a determination with establishing a subcommittee that can be fast about interviewing these people or however it turns out. And so we're looking for personality as well as somebody who has Jeff's capabilities.
I mean, this is all learned. So just, as far as a candidate, I mean, I didn't know anything about this.
We know.
I stepped in and had, it was get the certification, listen to John, a lot happened to John's experience and Josh and other people from BAR who came, especially when we were working in those flooding times, and some of that was community therapy, right? Like when people's homes are flooding, it's a whole different thing, but I mean, it is something that can be learned and
Right.
I'm pleased with that. I didn't know anything about this. So
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So we're gonna continue.
Thank you.
Is there something else about his regarding his pay, or is that on a separate?
Mr. President, that's under the annual meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we will be discussing that as
Yeah.
well.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm still here.
Okay. So are we okay on that, gentlemen? We just directed Barr to look into this matter, and we'll see what we can find. The next item is the Valley Branch rules update. This seems simple enough. And before the managers say anything, I just want to say that this is something that I would like to table. In other words, discuss this matter in 2026, because we have time and we can meet with people and we don't have to establish things right now at this moment or the very near future. Is that appealing? Simple enough? Okay then. So, manager action, I don't need to make a motion here. Do I just direct you?
For the rules?
No, the collaborating with South Washington,
Yeah,
and
you
the
can,
Washington District on the rules, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna.
Mr. President, I guess I'm confused. Are you tabling any decision on this, or are you directing me to do this? I'm confused.
I am asking you to table this matter.
Okay.
Yes. And then we'll address it in 2026 because it's going to get bigger, and then we can meet with these folks and find out what it is that we're gonna do.
Thank you.
Would it serve any purpose to have any discussion now to see kind of, knowing that the decision will happen after the first of the years? Just to see what people's feelings are on this? I don't want
I
to,
asked, but,
so.
no, I asked, but whatever you gentlemen decide. I think, as I said earlier, that it's an issue that we can put off. We're not really putting it off. But because of what we read here, that we're gonna ask these folks to come in, and this is going to be some ongoing discussion before we engage in rule changes or policy or anything that we're gonna do to collaborate with these folks.
Yeah, Mr. President, the question is, do you want to collaborate with them? Because you've been working very hard on possibly modifying your rules to deal with easements.
Right.
And so if we go ahead and make those changes and go through the official process to modify your rules for those issues, if you collaborate with South Washington, it would slow things down. And that might be okay, but it would either slow things down or you'd have to update your rules twice depending on what comes out of the South Washington work. And so that's really the question for the board, and that can be discussed in January.
Gentlemen?
Well, I mean, it depends on what we're collaborating on. So,
That's.
you know, putting our collective resources together on a regional problem like chloride management only makes perfect sense. Changing our permitting system because they don't have one and we do does not make sense to me.
Exactly.
So, I think we find, and I always look at an opportunity like this to collaborate with a neighbor as something that a fruitful thing to seriously look at, because there could be benefits and efficiencies to both parties by doing so.
Right.
Right, so, just my very high level thoughts on this, so. So are we thinking about maybe having John Lewis come in and at our January meeting maybe?
I don't think it's necessary for them to come to a meeting. The question is, do you want to collaborate with them? And we can talk about what those issues might be that you collaborate with them. And then come back to the board and say, hey, these might be some issues you might want to collaborate, like chloride management.
Starting in January.
Sure.
Rick?
One is the issue of what we discuss,
Okay.
but there might be some background information that could be developed before. I
Beneficial.
think that's where you were going down.
Right.
And that might inform our discussion quite a bit. And
Yes, sir,
and help
without a
out in that way. So if we could maybe get some further clarification of areas where it seems like it might work out to collaborate. And areas where it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, so I guess it's somewhere in the order of, let's explore it a little bit further. And then use that as the basis for our discussion in January.
Without a doubt.
Mhm.
I mean, like on chloride, South Washington's been kind of one of the leaders of this, actually, over in this part of Metro with their chicken grip program and other stuff, it's worked really, really well. I mean, as far as
Right.
popularity and all that, so.
We're not trying to reinvent anything. We want to use every resource
Yeah,
imaginable to meet our goals.
yeah. But the only other thing that I thought of on this more from an administrative standpoint, if there was anything that might emerge that required a modification to our rules, kind of in the process of doing that right now, right? So,
Yeah, but that's the whole point. This isn't talking about programs. This is talking about your rules and regulations.
right.
So, for example, Valley Branch has a rule regarding chloride. South Washington doesn't. But I think there's big room for improvement in the Valley Branch rule regarding chloride.
Sure.
If at all possible, I'd like to see us, get the easement thing resolved prior to the onslaught of all the spring permits. If we could, I mean, just, as a matter of course, I definitely see benefit in collaborating on the chloride issue.
Right.
And that sort of thing, but I just want to throw that out that, do we really want to go another year? And not get that easement issue cleaned up.
And I don't think, I can't envision a scenario where we would want to change what we've already agreed to modify on our rules for easement. But I don't know enough about the rule changing process. If we find something else, totally different aspect of our rules that we might want to modify to facilitate collaboration with South Washington, should we package that together with our easement rule change as well to make it more efficient? How do we change our rules? Does it have to go to Bowser? Do they sprinkle holy water on it or what's the process here?
You have to send it out for comment. you receive the comments, you have to respond to those comments, and then you adopt them. South Washington Watershed District is on a slower process. They probably won't update their rules until they'll go through that process stuff at the rules in 2026 and probably won't update the rules until 2027.
Right.
What I'm hearing from Secretary Brock is he'd like us to maybe update our rules to deal with this easement issue now, and then continue to work with South Washington Watershed District. But that would be a second.
Acknowledgement that we could possibly maybe, and I don't have any idea what they would be, but we could potentially be tweaking some of our other rules to enhance collaboration with South Washington. That's a scenario I'm just kind of throwing out there as a total hypothetical, which means we have to go through the rule process again with public input and all that, so.
Yeah, if we wanted to match them word for word on chloride, I mean, we could in another year or 2 years, revise our rules again and make that change to be consistent with them, and maybe we're off for half a year or whatever, but.
I was gonna wait till, managers speaking to talk about what's emerged from Minnesota watersheds on chloride stuff. Cause that would have bearing on this as well, so. I should wanna,
I was at that lecture and, yeah, and I certainly have some comments about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you gentlemen satisfied with, our move? With what we're doing here?
Or if I understood it right, we're exploring, or ask staff to explore a little bit more. And then we'll use the information we get from that
Yes,
to
sir.
look at what, how we would move forward.
Right.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our next item. This one I think is a little tricky, our cost share program. Okay, I assume all the managers have had a chance to look at all of this. And there are. I even have notes on the board discussion. So. So I'm leaning towards the exceptional benefit documentation for board to review. Or. And. Adopt a repeat application 3-year rule. Firm signage policy. There's a lot of stuff. Here's one. Approve the native plant grant criteria addition. 250 square feet minimum or exceptional benefit documentation for board review. Is that appealing? I'm kind of.
I'd like some input from Alyssa Thompson, actually. It was not available tonight, but it'll be in January.
Yeah, okay, that sounds very reasonable to me because I had a discussion with her at their open house. And she's full of ideas and I think she's well ahead of the game and she's efficient. I thought that maybe she was just helping all the Afton folks and one would think someone who is ignorant on the subject would say, hey, what's going on here? We're just giving money for landscaping, and I know that that's a very limited way to look at it, and that's far from it. She has a lot more going on, and so her input is necessary for what we're doing here. And so what I'm seeing here is all of these items that, in my opinion, we haven't necessarily decided on unless we're clear on them. So. We can wait for Alyssa to return and have a talk with her and go over this.
Personally, I'd like to
Yeah.
have her involved in discussion and also I thought that 250 square foot is kind of on the small side. I mean, that's 25 by 10,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
gonna,
But again, I think, I think we need to have the clause in there for a specific piece that might be 200 square feet, but could be very highly erodible or,
right,
so. I mean, if you could, if the amount of phosphorus retained by a project reaches a certain threshold, then whether it's,
That's for that exceptional benefit thing, which kick in.
exactly,
and that
that's,
is in here already, I think that clause is in there already, if I read it correctly, so.
it seems almost discretionary, Counselor, in that,
Within some respects.
yes, ma'am, that we establish things, when we look at it, we say, okay, what about this? And we can either direct or give guidance to Alyssa about what we want done.
I almost see it more like a variance in some way, like you could
Yeah.
prove why you might qualify for these funds because
Right.
of how important this project would be for water
Right.
quality.
Well, right now, we don't have any sideboards. There's no minimum, no.
Exactly.
No sideboards. And so I feel like we really, to be fair to Alyssa, we need to give her some guidance of what.
I
the
think that's a great
sideboard
idea.
we want.
Well, it'd be good to just have her review this and have
He
it.
has reviewed this.
She has reviewed
She has
it.
reviewed this.
And she made,
So this is a compilation of the notes and discussion from the
Okay,
workshop we
right.
had October 8th. Sent that to her, Alyssa. She provided comments. I adjusted things based on her comments, and this is the final product.
Okay, all right.
so what the suggestion is that she returns and we sit down and talk to her and we have a more concrete description of what we want done and how we're gonna about it. And of course, our counselor will give us her professional take on it. So is this something that we table or, okay, and we'll direct you?
I'll
Please contact her. Don't call her on vacation.
do that.
Okay. And have her come and meet with us and then we'll see if we can get it squared away, but there's some very appealing things about what she has said and what's in here. I made a couple of notes, but again, we're going down rabbit holes again. The 250 footer, wait a minute. What, so what do we have to set up to allow for that and blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to avoid that. Okay. Are we okay with that, gentlemen? Okay, all right, very good. Okay. You're up, attorney.
All right, the first item here is the Winkles purchase agreement addendum. My understanding is you all talked about this at the November meeting, that you're okay with them staying there for longer, so long as we make sure that they have renter's insurance in place and that they sign this addendum. So the purchase agreement addendum is provided to you. I did print out a new version of it tonight than what was provided in your packet initially. Just to correct a typo in line with what you decided at the meeting, which is May 31st. We had initially said May 1st, but that was not in line with what you agreed at the last meeting. So
Okay.
the addendum does use the correct dates now. And there is a resolution to approve. The proposed action is listed there at the bottom of the memorandum.
You read that?
Yes, please, if.
Yes, ma'am.
One
Rick?
question.
Yeah,
In the third whereas, you talk about being held harmless, and holding the district harmless for any damages or injuries sustained by the owners or owners' invitees. Are we also protected from situations where these are people that aren't invited? If somebody were to come in and damage the property or create some situation, are we covered in that situation as well?
I can confirm that, but I would assume so.
Okay, I think that would be an important thing to include, so. That's it.
yes, sir. Very good.
you would like that modified in the resolution, is that what you're saying, or just to ensure that the hold harmless?
I just want to make
covers
sure
that?
that's covered.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You know, it doesn't have to be modified if it's already covered.
So you're gonna redraw that, Counselor?
I will ensure that the hold harmless, if we have them sign a separate hold harmless, I'll make sure it's covered there. But I do think it's part of the overall purchase agreement closing package. So I'll just make sure that we have the right documents in place to ensure that that's covered for the district.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank
So
you.
And their closing is not set to occur until January 5th. I shouldn't say, but January 5th. So we'll make sure everything's in place by then.
So you don't require any signing or anything this evening?
I would request that the resolution be signed tonight, and I also have the amendment for you to sign tonight if the resolution passes.
Okay, and then, so I'm going to do that now with no further serious comments or
Attorney
questions.
Helm,
Yes, sir.
Engineer Phillips noticed a typo on
Where?
the second whereas, it's 2026 rather than 2025.
Ah, yes, I will fix that.
Good eye, Josh.
Yes, good eye, Josh.
You.
Just wanted to say that.
So this is gonna be resolution 2025-13. I
That's
can make, okay, the proposed action. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve resolution 2025-13, approving the purchase agreement amendment for purchase of property located 2814 Legion Avenue North, Lake Elmo, Minnesota 55042, and authorize myself to execute the amendment. Very good.
Second that.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 Hi,
Okay.
I'll have you sign those at the end of the meeting if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Of course it is. Okay.
Then the second
Yeah.
part of this with the Winkles is the funds that are needed for the closing. So this is just authorizing the transfer of that final set of money to cover the closing costs and the closing in general.
We okay with that?
Proposed action at the bottom of this memorandum as well.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm going to make a motion to authorize the transfer of $404,504.87 to the Gallowitz Olson PLLC trust account for the purchase of 2814 Legion Avenue North, Lake Elmo, Minnesota 55042. Do I have a second?
Second.
That's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 hi.
That is approved.
Thank you.
Right?
The next memorandum we have for you is another one that I circulated tonight, which is the FinSet property. Again, it's a different memorandum than what was initially included in your packet.
Okay, thanks. Ferguson,
Yes.
okay.
So ultimately, what is happening here is the property owner has not yet come before the district looking for a permit, but has expressed intention to have easement on the property be vacated and then kind of put back so that he can build on the property. Again, this is not formally before the district, but he has, my understanding, he's run into kind of procedural issues where he needs approval from some people in order to get approval from other people. And so what we have kind of formulated with BAR is a letter that just describes the rules of the district and not formally committing to approving or denying his proposal, but just saying, here's what our rules are at this time.
So what are you required of us? Because I looked at the photos, they seem to make, the drawings. They seem to make sense about what he wants to do. And so what is exactly required of us?
There is a proposed action on the second page of the memorandum.
Okay,
Ultimately, it's just kind of discussing on what guidance you want to give to Mr. Finseth. And we have a letter prepared that we gave to you again tonight. I apologize for the short notice. That we would recommend giving to him that he could provide to the other entities that he may need to get approval from in order to proceed in his process for getting these easements vacated.
Okay, have the managers looked at, the drawings? It seems a little confusing. So the question I have is, are they up there? No, they, why not, please? He wants them vacated and this is a procedural thing?
So the original permit for this was issued by Valley Branch Watershed District in 2006,
Right.
and then it was modified in 2007. The developer drew easements on the plat and had them recorded. Those easements are larger than what Valley Branch needed with its rules.
Okay.
In 2006.
Yeah.
And they're larger than what the Watershed District needs under its current rules. And so he would like to have the easements modified so that he could place the driveway or home a little bit differently than the way the easements are currently located.
He wants it up at the top of that diamond, right?
And I think, yes, the home will be at the top of the diamond here, and I think he wants it a little bit closer to this easement than what the way things are currently configured would allow.
So at this time, we vacated according to, it seems reasonable enough, but
Yeah, he's right. The information that legal counsel has put together is not officially vacating it. It's just stating that Valley Branch rules say this, and we'll need easements over these areas if you go about modifying them.
that seems simple enough.
Just calling attention to the rules that we will be enforcing if he seeks a permit.
Yes, ma'am. So we essentially execute the attached letter, right?
Yes.
You need direction or you're gonna want to move it, right?
Yes, please. And if you want to use the proposed action, the second sentence is kind of phrased to be a motion.
Okay. Move the execution.
Mhm.
Thank you for what you do. Okay, so if you gentlemen have no further comment or questions on this, I will go ahead and make this motion. Approve the execution of the attached letter by myself and authorize release of the letter to West Lakeland Township and other entities as requested by Mr. Finsap. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 It is approved. Thank you, County Clerk.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just made it too much. It's simple, and, I did too much out of it. I'm sorry.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. We could have clarified more about what the actual action item was on that one.
Oh, here's what else are you gonna do to us?
I think this is my last one.
Okay, is this the Ryan Company's one? I received the letter
Yep,
via FedEx.
yes.
And I almost contacted you, but I spoke to John. And I said I wasn't gonna sign anything without.
Good.
Yes, ma'am.
Always advised. All right, this is on, permit 2021-01, which was closed out, but it's the Talmore property.
Right,
They are selling their property and they're requesting an estoppel agreement. So ultimately, Susanna has reviewed the estoppel and does not have any proposed changes to it. So we're just asking tonight that you approve that both President Marchand and Secretary Brock execute the estoppel certificate as they have requested.
easy enough. Any comments? Okay, just making sure, because
Estoppel's a new word for me.
I know, me too.
It's always an exciting day when you learn lawyer jargon.
Listen to this sentence.
This is bad. So. What do you want me to say?
You could make a motion to approve that both you and Secretary Rock execute the estoppel certificate.
Okay. I will make a motion that, Secretary Rock and myself execute the motion to, sign the estoppel certificate.
Second.
Thank you.
The ex-attorney said.
So moved and second.
Aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen. That is approved.
Thank you.
Thank
Again,
you,
I'll have you
Council.
sign everything,
Yes, ma'am.
at the end.
Okay. We'll do. You hanging in there? I am. Thank you.
That one good.
Oh, I do have one more. The
One more.
Osborne.
Is that the Osborne?
No, that's all right. Thank you. The Osborne easement and maintenance agreement. My understanding of this one is that we just modified some of the terms for the maintenance agreement just to better fit the circumstances of this property. These specific changes are outlined on page 2 of the memorandum and are reflected in the attached, maintenance agreement. Also, you can see some of the changes that are made there highlighted in orange. So if these changes are okay with you, we request that you approve the maintenance agreement and easement language for this particular permit.
I read it like a deer in the headlights, but it seems okay to me. So, excuse me,
Bless you.
that dog hair. Okay. Okay, so this is not the resolution, is it? No. Yeah.
Make a motion.
Please.
Like,
Thank you,
so
sir.
make a motion to approve the modified stormwater management facility maintenance agreement and surface water drainage easement language for permit 2021-56 as presented by the district attorney.
Seconded. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Aye.
Seconded. Aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
I like getting bailed out. Holy cow. All right. The next item. We're all squared away? Ms. Tori? Okay,
I believe so,
oh, thank you.
right? Are we off on the agenda? I'm down in the document. Yeah, I think we're on to,
Perfect.
we're off of me.
We must be carrying some kind of insurance on those empty homes. If someone, it got me thinking about Rick's comment about, somebody breaks in and hurts themselves. We must, as the watershed, must have some kind of policy then, temporary on those homes. It wouldn't be a homeowner's policy, but it just fall under some other policy that the watershed has. So if somebody breaks into the Toft home, it's been turned over to us. Nobody has the right to be there, but people can break in and do things. I don't think that's gonna happen because it's in a neighborhood, right? It's all visible to everybody, but if someone does break into one of those homes and hurts themselves by their own fault, do we have insurance or something that covers something that happens to somebody on that property?
I do not know the answer to that, and so I will certainly look into it and get back to the managers.
It just got me thinking
That would be
about,
much appreciated. It
that.
seems like a highly unlikely event, but I'm with you. I'm with you. We have to protect ourselves.
the house on Keats that we tore down a few years ago, it was off in the woods by the pond by itself. A lot of problem with people were going in there and dumping stuff on the property. They were dumping
Really?
stuff. There were kids inside the house painting the walls and, could have been lighting. But no, the house doesn't get it torn down. So if they burn the house down, okay, except if they go with it.
Right.
So that's just my only question about, again, all these houses are near, there's neighbors right there.
Sure.
It's not like it's, secluded, You know, so I don't think we'll have that issue, but just kind of raised that question in my mind. Well, what happens now that they've moved on? They don't have insurance coverage. We're gonna keep it until we tear it down.
We have a writer on that. or
We
no?
must have something. I just,
Thought we did. Counselor Pete, please, make inquiries. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Just to cover us, but you're right.
Yeah.
It's good to bring that up.
just,
You never know.
I have nothing else.
To see some people in t-shirts, freezing. Yeah, let's go in here and tear it up. Seen too many movies.
Well, we did have issues with people filling up dumpsters, you know, when they have dumpsters up for demolition.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
right.
yes, people would fill the dumpsters up.
That happened in New York.
Yeah, it's terrible. Anyway, sorry.
We got the dumpster out there. Okay. Nothing further. This next one is going to be very interesting. Okay. Managers, the resolution 2025-12, approving the 2026 budget and payable year 2026 final property tax levy. That requires a motion? Okay. Well, I make a motion to approve resolution 2025-12.
Second,
Is it moved and seconded?
Aye.
aye,
Aye,
aye.
Hi,
it is approved. Okay, thank you, John. Now our annual meeting. Gentlemen, does anybody want to reflect on 2025? Be honest. Tell the truth.
well,
Rick,
personally, I'm
I value your
relieved,
opinion.
and I'm relieved that we were able to stay within the rules for our our 5-year limitation in terms of the bonds that we had, and that we were able to purchase homes and expend that money. I think that simplified our lives and was useful in that way, and also accomplishes many of the goals that we had in terms of reducing flood hazards.
Thank you, sir. That was important. Yeah. You gentlemen have anything you'd like to add about 2025? You were in Vietnam, right? No.
That's
Mr. Bell.
6.4.
Oh, okay. You weren't, you guys were in exotic places, so that's why. Anything?
That's not that exotic.
Africa, weren't you in Africa? No, that was 24.
Africa, yeah.
That's right. And Rick,
That was 24.
yeah,
Unless
Vegas.
that's Vegas. Yeah, I don't know if that's exotic or not.
That's, well, I heard. I've
Sufficiently
been there a few
exotic.
times, yeah.
Mhm.
Mr. Secretary, anything you'd like to add?
2025, I appreciate everybody's support to move ahead, talking about easement modification on the rules. So I personally felt that was something we really needed to do, so.
Yeah, that was very important too. We're doing that. And my only comment about all of these things that took place was how we worked as a team. And all the managers had input, including our attorneys and certainly bar engineering and even our inspector. He was asked to comment and this is, again, reflecting on what we do here and how we try to make this something that's not just rubber stamping or whatever, that we're all proactive about what we do and we get involved with discussion to create the best outcomes for our constituents and our water quality, which is what we're here for, right?
Mhm.
So, any suggestions for 2026 that anybody would like to think of outside of what might be obvious? Just win, baby. Sorry,
Well, Mike,
I was a Raider fan.
before we close on 2025, my simple observation is we knocked quite a pile of stuff out this year.
So,
Did it well and did it efficiently. Whether this is the easement rule suggestion, revision of the 10-year draft plan that has to go to Bowser. We got through that and, yeah, so I agree, Ed. I think we function very well, very efficiently.
all of us.
I think we have a really good board.
Thank you. No, the
My
Vikings.
stuff, my stuff excluded.
Now, the Vikings can figure something out like this, maybe, you know, I'm all.
Well, yeah, and specifically on the plan, you know, that's an intimidating thing to undertake, and I
Yeah.
think it went extremely smoothly, and I'd like to commend Barr and the people who
Great.
worked on that with us, because it went so smoothly.
It is, it's actually a lot of work, and,
Yeah.
and we are volunteers.
Mhm.
And we show up for this stuff, and, counselor looks at this stuff, she turns on the meter, and I get it. But we come up here and we gotta do all this stuff, and frankly, it's befuddling, if that's a good word to use for some of these items. So, yeah, it's not easy. It's okay. Right?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, with that said, if nobody has anything, I'm going to make a motion based on our discussions. For electing officers, I'm going to make a motion that we remain, that our offices remain in place. Do I have a second?
Second,
It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen. That is much appreciated. Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody have any comments on reviewing and revising contracts for inspection services, anything like that? We need to talk to Jeff about this, right? Is this, John, tell us what's happening here. Is definitely a pay raise or something?
Yes, managers, so on page,
Yeah.
was it page 3?
Mm-hmm.
Page, top page 4 of the memo. The managers do contract for engineering or for erosion control inspection services. And Jeff Brower has indicated, as again tonight, that he's willing to continue to work with the board through transition to his successor. And he's asked for a slight change in his billing rate, and that's listed in the memo.
Yes, sir. And Jeff, if I could ask, what change in your billing rate?
Just rounding it up, it was like, you know, I think it's at 58.20. And if you look at a 2.8 or 3% increase, why don't we just, can we just round it to 60 instead of like $59 and change or whatever? Can we just make it 60? That was the only thing that I was looking for, just round it off.
I'll tell you
I
what,
didn't really have any big pressing economic reason other than let's just round it off, round it up, I guess.
how about if I make a motion that we raise your billing rate to $60 per hour? Effective immediately. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. That would be for 2026.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm under contract for 2025
Okay.
at 58.20.
So
So,
I don't need to modify my,
If we could note for the minutes that that is the proper motion that should have been made, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you very
And
much.
thank you for clarifying.
We don't want to overpay you for a month.
it's pretty quiet.
Okay.
I don't know, do we need to have a motion for the other services that
No,
we're doing here? I'd like to make a comment.
yes, sir.
We received notification from Red Path that initiates the 2025 audit. It's an audit letter. We signed it last year. We do not need to sign it this year because it was signed for 2 years in a row. But we have received that, and so the auditing process is beginning.
Okay,
Okay,
that's good enough. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, does anybody want to, we're going, okay, I want to stay, proper on this. So on the district's advisory committees, we're going to name the same individuals that had been on last year or this past year. And there's no changes there. There are no changes there. Okay, do I need to make a motion for that?
Yes, please.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we use the same individuals for our district's advisory committees that were on this year's list. Do I have a second?
Second,
So moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
that is approved. Thank you, gentlemen. We okay there, Josh?
I was just asking him if Vice President Pierre was the second on consultant fees.
Just making sure there wasn't a voice of dissent or something. I'm kidding. Okay. Approve a schedule for the 2026 regular board meeting. I don't perceive any changes. If you gentlemen are okay with that, we're fine.
Yes.
Okay. So that needs a motion, Mr. Engineer. Make a
All
motion.
of these would be best if you had a motion.
Yes, sir. Okay. I'll get right on it. Approve the schedule for the 2026 regular board meetings to remain as they were in 2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
that is approved. Thank you, sir. Review the bylaws for the units, code of conduct policy, investments and depository policy. Are there any changes or any items that the managers would like to discuss or bring to the board's attention? It's all good. The per diem policy, everything's okay. All right then. I would like to make a motion to approve the bylaws, per diem policy, code of conduct policy, and investments and depository policies that we had in place in 2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 We are approved. Thank you, gentlemen. Designate the official Valley Branch Watershed District newspaper. And that is, did we use the Star Tribune last? No.
Pioneer Press.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant the Pioneer Press. And we're now with US Bank, correct?
Correct.
So I'd like to make a motion to designate the official Valley Branch Watershed District newspaper as Pioneer Press and US Bank as our official bank. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 Okay, that is approved. The Minnesota Annual Watersheds Conference. This is a commentary section, right? Okay, gentlemen. You're all there. It was cold. I'm sick. The roads were icy. I almost got hit by cars on the Comas. I tell you, it's a wonderful venue, just to get into it, not talk everybody's head off. But Tori, you missed it. It was fun. To come up with your loved ones and a dog of yours, and you might have enjoyed it. Whatever. In any case, the cabins are far away, but it was still wonderful. I appreciate some of the lectures we attended. I attended the fluoride lecture. I thought it was good, but it came down to one specific issue for me without getting into it, and that is enforcement. How do we do this? Because the whole time I was thinking, okay, somebody's got certification, and then they go, yeah, I'm certified. 5 gallons that way and 5 gallons that way. Yes, sir.
So the next iteration of fluoride management, we're gonna likely, I think we're done beating our head against the limited liability act,
Okay.
because it's gone nowhere, and the trial attorneys are acting like they're not gonna let it go anywhere. So now we're gonna start looking seriously at our regulatory approach. One recommendation by an individual who's done technical work on this problem, and that would be Mark Deutschman, would be to make certification a requirement. So if anybody is gonna be applying de-icing material on property, commercial property or whatever, they have to be a licensed applicator, and they have to be certified, meaning they've taken the best management practice training.
And that's for all our de-icing materials, not just chloride.
Yeah, so, I mean, Heinz Steffen's initial work still leaves some uncertainty as to where a majority of it is. Mark Deutschman will say there's still a lot unknown about whether most of it's coming from public roads where we've made a lot of progress, or is it coming from retail centers that are putting an awful lot of the stuff down in their parking lots? So, I mean, who knows where this is gonna go? This is just an idea that came forward. It seems like, I'm sure this, the devil's always in the details. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of speed bumps on the way to try to make something like that happen, but it's probably emerging as an initial way to start thinking about how to do it through regulation. Rather than, it'd be great if you could get certified and take this stuff, but we don't have any hammer, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at, and so, and you probably heard Jess Lindeen say that, you know, she's gonna go ahead and start working on that. I mean, we've already passed a resolution to say, pursue a regulatory approach. So she's gonna start working on that resolution.
Okay.
And I've heard so much stuff all over the place about things to do and experiences that people have had and research that people have had. I'm asking Jan Boyd to talk to, and I asked Kevin Matzik just yesterday on a phone call. Talk to Jess and see if we should bring key people together that have worked on this, like Eric, come to see how was she at 9 Mile?
Erica, the administrator of 9 Mile.
Yeah, and others that have worked various levels of work. Bring them together and do a think tank and figure out what is the best strategy for trying to move forward with a regulatory approach.
Oh, yeah.
So,
The question on, now, when you're saying that the people would be mandatory to have to go through the training, does that mean every applicator who works? Or because I know there's some discussion up there about, well, the owner of the company goes through the training, but all the grunts on the ground, basically, they just kind of do what they do. Do you know where they landed
yeah,
on
I
that?
don't think they've got to that detail. I think we just look at it, you know, use models for like pesticide applicators, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a place to look at how that is regulated, and I mean, they're not applying a pesticide, but they're doing the same thing. They're putting a chemical out in the environment to achieve a certain solution.
Pest control is, highly
The
regulated.
pesticides that people are gonna walk on, and they're spraying de-icing compounds on.
It's a chemical application.
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah,
just the
I'm a certified pesticide applicator. I went through the program and I thought it was great. I mean, it was all educational, but yeah, I didn't have to pay for, I mean, it didn't cost me anything, but I had to go through the training and then take the, you know, take the little test or whatever.
herbicides and insecticides and all that stuff. Good.
Yeah.
And I thought it was good.
And I'll, on a lighter note, not, I'm plagiarizing, of course, but when we were coming out of the meeting, Mr. Bill said, those chloride people were a little salty. You're getting a little, yeah. That was Mr. Bill. I don't,
He did say that.
he did say that, and it was great. Yeah.
I did have a comment on that, because I not only attended the chloride, but I attended the sort of lobbying people who were, and as someone who knows nothing about how lobbying works, I was surprised that you had, and maybe Don, you can address this a bit, but you had 4 people or whatever who work for that firm. It seems like they've had one issue that they've been lobbying for years, and nothing's really happened. Can't they bring up more than one issue?
Yeah, so 2 years now, LGN's been on.
Okay,
The prior lobbyist was Raybo, and let's just not, we don't need to go there, right? But so, and Ray was a force, but he was his own guy, and he worked on what he thought was important. So now we have a different system where the board and the membership of Minnesota Watersheds are now, so we revised the whole resolution process. So we get it done earlier in the year, and we use those resolutions for the membership to determine what are the legislative priorities gonna be, and there's like 3 of them. But one of them, for example, is permitting efficiency with agencies, DNR, PCA. been increasingly problematic with a number of watershed districts around the state. So, and LGN is a really, if you go to their website, they're a really big firm. They have a lot of people. So we've got three. The supervisor is Dan Larson, and then, you know, Kevin's the guy that I've been working with the most, but Jess Ladine's been basically trying to work on this limit liability thing, and it's gone nowhere. So we just decided that we're just gonna give it up and take a different approach. So, but they can't, I mean, they do keep eyes and ears open on other things that are going on. So there could be like a resolution passed that is like of singular importance to a couple of watershed districts. So we can't elevate that to statewide, like a statewide priority. So we kind of made the agreement for the LGN staff to really be focused on just a few priorities that the board will approve. So that's basically the process.
Okay.
Baby steps.
And there were some people really upset about that, but I think it was the right move. You
We're
know,
getting pushback because there's some watershed districts that are upset that their key thing is not in the priority list.
Yep.
And we just gotta kind of do the outreach and talk to them and talk them off the ledge, you know? The business meeting is not the first place where that came out. It's happened prior to that as well, so.
How long did that last? Did you guys stay till 11 or?
No, it was reasonably.
10:30 or something, I think we were.
What Gasky talked for quite a long time. The Bowser report, which is, I'm not saying that's good or bad, but it's longer than I thought it would be, but we moved it along. I mean, having our new mid-year annual meeting on resolutions helped streamline the business meeting.
Oh, good.
Because then we just had 3 late resolutions to consider. Those went fairly quickly, so.
Yeah, the lectures were excellent. I'd like to see them more scientific. That's just me.
Yeah, the survey, Matty Bone just sent out a link to the survey.
I filled mine out.
Have that, okay.
I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, and, the venue, to go back to next, we don't have a contract yet, but we're very likely going back to next year.
Back up there.
We made some, so last year, part of the problem was the rooms are too crowded and too small. So we basically changed the program to have shorter sessions and two big rooms rather than 4 small rooms, and it worked fine.
It did.
I thought the program was fine. I thought,
Yeah.
I also don't like having too many concurrent sessions.
Yeah.
Because you want to be in, it's too often that you want to be in 2 places at once.
Yes.
So I thought the program went really well this year. Topic matter we can talk about, and that kind of waxes and wanes sometimes, like topic. Sometimes the topic matter in the technical sessions, it's just like lights out great. Some years it's a little soft, or whatever, you know.
And also the way that you guys formatted the events,
Yeah,
lunch was streamlined. I thought
Yeah.
that went well.
yeah.
Dinner, it was all.
Moving the caucus to Wednesday night, the regional caucuses, I ended up thinking that went reasonably well. So that was a big change from the morning on Thursday till late on the day on Wednesday,
Right.
so.
Now, if we can just get them to let us check in earlier than 4.
Yeah.
It seems like with that many people staying there, I mean, I'm obviously kind of joking.
I was,
but with that
I
many
was
people staying
driving
there,
up
we should
371, and there was just a side note. And I just kept changing position with another vehicle. I was trying to maintain proper speed because, you know, the coppers are all hanging out and I finally got up there with this white vehicle. And who gets out of the car? Mr. Bill. I go, we've been going back and forth the whole way out.
Yeah, I didn't realize what you.
That was kind of fun. Worked out. We weren't speeding.
Luckily, no road rage between you.
No.
You could have drafted them.
I should have. I should have.
So there was a bit of a couple with the banquet where some people were turned away.
Yeah.
So they don't, so what happens, what always happens with the banquet is
Yeah.
far less people show up to the banquet than are registered for the conference.
Oh, interesting.
So if they have 400 people registered for the conference and they set 400 seats for the banquet, there's gonna be a whole bunch of food prepared that's not gonna be used.
Oh,
So Mandy Bone has the difficult task of trying to figure out what's the sweet number. And this year, for reasons we don't understand, there were way more people who want to go to the banquet.
interesting.
So there are several people, including the director of Bowser, who got turned away and had to go to the bar to get dinner.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that was a little bit of a kerfuffle, but
I thought it was nice. Yeah, overall, with everything, and the way it was presented, and Jen did a nice job, and we talked about things, and I did a lot of finger pointing, because John's introduced us to people, and this is all wonderful for networking and everything, and I met some extraordinary people. That one gal, Chris, you know, I'm talking about, hopefully we can talk to her some more. And of course, all of the wonderful bar ladies, you know, yeah, get a bigger table for us, for goodness sake. You know, yeah. And cake got hammered. I was making fun of it.
Sounds like right.
It's all very cheap. But overall, it was just, it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you attended too.
Yeah.
well, and hats off to the bar singers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
oh, gosh, you got out.
Oh, yeah.
Julie Andrews over there.
Yeah, he could repeat it.
They sang, one of the songs from,
Sound of music.
Yeah.
What was it?
it was
Favorite things.
My Favorite Things from the Sound of Music, yes, yes. It
So
was actually good.
I totally missed it. I'm talking to Bishop about this project up in North Oaks, and I'm like, when are the bar guys singing? Oh, they did already. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful, a lot of camaraderie and, a lot of people, and a lot of, and another thing I saw, there's a lot of enthusiasm with, some of the watershed districts and what they've done, and a lot of hard work, and my hats off to the, Ramsey, Washington Watershed District and the 9 Milers. They were just excellent to talk to, and, you know, very enthusiastic, and so we had a very nice time with them. That's one thing we appreciate, and so I forgot to add that, you know, you walk in, and I'm silly that way, you know, I go, you know, I do a lot of finger pointing, and then they look at me like, wow, where do I know you from? And then, of course, I speak to them later, and I go, hey, I apologize for pointing my finger at you, but I thought I knew you, and they go, you don't, but anyway, let's talk.
But you do now.
Yeah, and then, yeah, so we said,
Well, I just want to state that I'm really happy that we all were able to go,
yeah,
and Jeff as well.
Yeah, thank you.
heck yeah.
I like that data center session too, was really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a hot topic, is trying to figure out how they're gonna use water, if they should use water, all this different technologies.
You benefit, have you there.
It was really interesting. And I did attend the chloride, both of the chloride meetings.
I saw you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, an open seat for me, but I couldn't muscle my way
They
over.
were packed in pretty good if you were in the middle of those buildings. They had a row down the middle that was about like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were definitely, I didn't know if we were in coach seating playing, but it was a little tight.
Standing room.
We actually, when we were reviewing stuff on the board meeting, I think Joe Collins suggested that middle aisle be a little wider.
Yeah, it was really kind of pretty tight.
Yeah, just, a hit, you know. And the drive there was awesome. The drive back, you know, got a little hairy,
A lot of cars in the ditch.
Yeah.
And
Semis in the ditch.
Yeah,
I stayed on 10 because I had stopped
Yes.
to gas up and
10.
I looked at the traffic map and 94 looked like it was parked. So I stayed on 10 all the way down through Anoka, all the way to 694. And like, I am not gonna go over to 94 at all. Because it was
yeah, I was warned.
cars in the ditch everywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, I took advantage of that.
That worked out okay.
Good. This is good. This is what we like. With that said, that concludes, our agendas. The cost share, program, project tracking. Please look at that. I think they had a remainder of $8,000. We haven't done anything else, but, they came fairly close to, maxing it out, and that's all right. And, future business and meetings. Baytown Community Center, January 8th and the 22nd, where we have a quorum. Yes? Okay, I'm not going anywhere. Okay. So, one more item. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.